Hi friends, welcome back to my channel, and in honor of my 200th read for the year, I thought I would do something that I saw Erin from Booked and Bees do that I really enjoyed, and that is I will be doing the try a chapter tag, and whichever one I enjoy the most I will be reading. But instead of a book on my physical TBR, I am going to be reading something from my Kindle. So I am going to read a chapter of each of the 20 books that I have on my TBR, my Kindle TBR, and I will come back to you with my thoughts on the first chapter, and then we will pick whichever book I am planning to read. So let's try those chapters. So I read the first chapter of Still Beating. The first line is "You are incorrigible," and it is 20 pages, and it's basically just Cora and Dean getting kidnapped. So in the beginning of the story, they are at his fiance, her sister's birthday party at a bar. Dean and Cora's sister leave. She stays at the bar. She doesn't have a ride. She's really drunk, and she has to call Dean. Dean is gonna come pick her up. She's waiting outside. She gets harassed by this guy. They're in the car, they're bickering back and forth, and they get pulled over by a cop. The cop breaks the window, knocks Dean out with a gun, and kidnaps both of them. So as a first chapter, as far as like my interest level on a 1 to 5, I would say my interest is like a 3. It was an interesting way to start the book. The writing is good, it's passable, and I have heard good things about this. So my interest level in continuing it is like a 3. It's above average, but it's not like the most interesting thing at the moment. So I just read the first chapter of Sabotage. It is 10 pages. The first sentence is, "Goddamn, I groan at the feel of the woman on her knees." The heroine getting railed by 3 guys. They are friends of the hero. I'm guessing they have some sort of hate relationship. My interest level is like a 4. It was a better intro than Still Beating because it was hotter, but I can predict that I'm not going to like it as much because I think they start out with an early hookup, which we know I don't really like on this channel. Oh wow, I'm gonna read the next one, and we'll see. So I finished the first chapter of The Highwayman. It is 19 pages, and the first line is, "Blood ran down Dugan McKenzie's forearms as he crouched against the ancient stone wall separating the grounds of Applecross Orphanage from the wild mountains beyond." So this is about Dugan and Farah. In this first chapter, Farah is 8 and Dugan is 10, and Dugan has just been whipped for stealing bread because he is hungry, and she takes care of his hands, and then they start up this friendship, and when they are 10 and 12, they have like a little marriage because she's supposed to get married to a prince or something that she doesn't want to get married to, so he marries her. And then one night she comes into his room and says that one of the fathers, because they're at an orphanage, tried to touch her, and she stabbed him with scissors, and they tried to run away, and he ends up they end up getting into an altercation with some of the sisters and the friars that are there, and he stabs a couple of them, and then he gets knocked out. And this is pretty intriguing. I would say it's about a 4. I have had mixed experience with Kerrigan Byrne. I gave one book 2 stars. I gave another book 5 stars. And I expected this first chapter to be strong because her stories tend to have very strong, emotional, angsty first chapters that tend to center around some sort of trauma. Her writing is just beautiful and lyrical and descriptive, and so I was anticipating this to be a good first chapter, and it was much less traumatic than the other chapters that I've read or the other books that I've read from her, but it still was good, was intriguing, and I definitely want to continue. I've heard a lot of people say that this is their favorite Kerrigan burn, so I definitely want to continue, but we'll see if another one can beat it out. So I finished the first chapter of 5 Rounds. It is 18 pages, and the first line is, "I'm being evicted." And Remy and Tristan are friends with the same guy. In the beginning of the chapter, Remy gets evicted and she has to move out by the end of the month. She has like 2 weeks to find an apartment. She can't find one, so she ends up taking her friend Jax's room, and she'll be living with Tristan. And they all met through MMA. Tristan wants to be a pro, and Jax and Remy kind of just do it for fun. And Tristan and Remy don't really get along. He's very much a fuckboy, and she's like one of those like, am I the only girl that's ever turned you down sort of girls. So that's their relationship. They have the bantery relationship. Intrigue is like a 2. Like, I'm not a huge sports romance person, and there wasn't anything to stand out about this. Their banter wasn't really all that impressive or fun, and this kind of trope or this plot line is not mega interesting to me. I have 10 more that I want to give a shot. I have a couple of other ones on my Kindle. I have like a fantasy, I have like some extreme horror, I have some monster romances, and then I have some fantasy romances that I want to read for another, those are all for other videos. Okay, so chapter 1 of Sin and Discipline opens with, "I dream of music in the way most people dream of love." It is 16 pages, and it is about Amelia and Lennon, like John Lennon, just in case you forget that he likes music. Lennon is a rock star, I'm assuming, and he is back in his hometown. And in the first chapter of the book, he goes to his local record store, and on his way back he has his wallet stolen. He chases after the person that stole his wallet, and that is Amelia. And he decides that he's going to teach her a lesson, as if all women don't know that they can be raped. And he, a good gentleman that he is, needs to remind her of this by holding her down and threatening her and making her say please, to teach her a lesson, to assert his dominance, because he's a dom and he can't help it. I'm saying all of that with snark, but I didn't hate the first chapter. My battery is flashing, so excuse me. I say that with some snark, but I didn't like actively dislike the chapter. I just like didn't believe the I'm a dom, so I have to assert my dominance. I can't help it, that's just who I am. Like the minute he realized that she was like a pretty woman, his dominant tendencies just sprung out, and I didn't believe it. So that's like a 2. I'm not as invested or interested in it as I expected. I very much like Dark Notes, and I've heard that pretty closely compared to this. So I'm not as interested in it as I was hoping that I would be. So that's that one. The first chapter of Praise is 11 pages, and it starts with, "So I had a fistful of her hair in my hand, and we were both in the moment when I looked her right in the eye and said, 'Suck my cock like a good little girl.' The next thing I knew, she reared back her fist and clocked me right in the face." So this is about Emerson, and I haven't gotten the heroine's name yet, but this first chapter just introduced the idea of the kink club that they're going to open up, that this whole series is based around. I know that this is a ex-boyfriend's dad romance, and it has praise kink. So the first chapter like definitely didn't give me any indication of how the book is going to go. So the first chapter itself was like a 3. The book overall, my intrigue level is like a 5, because I'm definitely interested in reading it. But if I'm going based off of the first chapter, this wasn't like a super strong one. It was definitely set up and not on the high list of intriguing first chapters to pick for this challenge. Okay, so the first chapter of Darling Venom is 5 pages, and it starts with Please Don't Go Out Tonight, Please. I press my palms together, flashing Leah my best puppy dog eyes for my position on her multicolored quilt. So this is about Charlotte. At the beginning, in this prologue, she's 13 and she's begging her sister Leah to not go out for the night. And that's kind of it. As far as chapters go, it was definitely like a 2. Not really interesting at all. There's obviously some foreshadowing that like her sister's probably going to die or something's going to happen with her sister, but for the chapter itself, it's not that interesting. In addition to that, this book is like 700 pages, and I've heard it's like deeply, deeply emotional, and I don't know if I'm quite there right now. Eventually I will be, but at the moment I don't think so, and with that not being super strong of a chapter, I'm definitely not putting it high up on my list. Don't Hex and Drive starts with, I was thinking about Purple Pansies when it happened. And the first chapter is 20 pages. It is about Isadora and Devraj. Devraj is a vampire. He hits Isadora on her bicycle as she's going down the road, and he carries her back to her house. Like, he carries her to his car, and they have some delightful banter moments, and then he drives her home. This is the second book in this like paranormal romance series by this author. I loved the first one. I gave it 5 stars, and this one wasn't super intriguing, but the first one definitely blew me away. So while this first chapter was like a 2 to a 3 interest level wise, I'm excited to get to that eventually. So, A Deal with the Devil starts with Good versus Evil. And it is 5 pages long, and it introduces Tally, who is going to take a job with Hayes. And Hayes is a playboy, and he needs an assistant because his current assistant, who is Tally's best friend, is going on a vacation. So she's supposed to take over the position short term for him, and it's $4 grand a month. But she had a previous bad experience with him, and she doesn't have a very good opinion of him. So she's very skeptical, but $4 grand is $4 grand, so she's going to take the job, and that is how that wraps up. Again, not another super interesting intro. I think it's probably going to be a standard romance, so I would give that one a 3. So chapter 1 of Consider Me starts with fuck. And we are introduced to Carter. It is 5 pages. We are introduced to Carter, who is a hockey player. We don't really know. He's getting boned down by a puck bunny. Is that what they're called? The women that sleep with whatever. They have one night stands with whatever. And he's talking about how he'll never settle down. Not super interesting. Kind of your stereotypical fuckboy. So that's like a 3. The writing was good. So okay, so the first chapter of Flock starts with I Grew Up Sick. So it's recounting how she fell in love with a guy and the relationship ended, and she tried to move on, and she's stuck being in love with him. I don't know if it's necessarily that interesting to me. Like, I'm teetering between a 3 and a 4 because I know that it's like an angsty romance, but based on the first chapter, it's like higher up of a 3, closer to a 4 than the ones that I've read so far. So the first chapter of Marriage for One is 10 pages, and it starts with Note to my past self. Do not, I repeat, do not say yes to marrying the handsome stranger you happen to know absolutely nothing about. So this first chapter is the wedding between Jack and Rose. We are led to believe they're in some sort of marriage of convenience, and we don't really have anything else besides that, besides the fact that Jack is very stoic and Rose hasn't known him that long. I have read this before. I've read like 36 something pages of this, so I'm vaguely familiar with like the plot and things like that and the writing, but it's not a particularly intriguing story for me at the moment. And this first chapter was better than some on this list, but not the best. So again, like a 3. So the first chapter of Ivy, 20 pages, and it starts with This Can't Be the Right House. And I'm very, very intrigued by this. This is about Cassia, I think, and she got accepted to this university. She's renting a room from this woman named Ivy, or from this girl named Ivy. She gets there and it's in a mansion. She's only paying like $400 a month. She's like, something is not right about this, and there's definitely something not right about this. She meets her new roommate. They take a tour of the house. It's like massive and expensive and all this other stuff, and then they have like a butler and a chef, and she has like a super nice room, and she only has 2 other roommates, Ivy and this other girl named Alora. She meets Alora, and Alora's like, you're the new toy. Are you excited for the trials? And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm very interested in this one, and I think it's pretty clear that this one might win. But let's take a look at my ranking for these, and then we will pick the one that I'm going to read. Okay, so this is my ranking for the first chapters of each one of these books. So in the second spot, so the ones that I gave 2 stars, we have 5 Rounds, Sin and Discipline, Marriage for One, and Darling Venom. In the 3-star range, we have Praise, Consider Me, Don't Hex and Drive, A Deal with the Devil, and Still Beating. And then in the 4-star range, we have Sabotage, Ivy, The Highwaymen, and Flock. Of the 4 stars, the ones that I'm leaning towards is Ivy and Sabotage. I think if you go back like the clips, it's very obvious my reactions to these 2. And I think the one I'm most intrigued by is Ivy. I think Sabotage really got me because, like, we were literally thrown in the middle of a threesome. So, you know, it just was hot, and it was an interesting dynamic, but I don't know if I'll 100% love it. So I am going to be reading Ivy, and we'll see how I feel about it. But let's get into that one. So I am 25% of the way through Ivy, and it's lost a little bit of the excitement that the first chapter brought me, but it's still pretty interesting. So we are following 3 points of view. We have, I'm just gonna call her Cass, Alora, and Ivy, and they are the 3 girls that live in the like mansion that I mentioned in the first chapter. And they all go to this private college, and we're kind of just following their lives, like their romantic relationships and the ways that their lives are entangled. So Cass has moved to this college because she's running from something in her past. It hasn't really been revealed to us, but she's changed her name and like her identity and everything like that. And the only person that knows who she is the dean of the school, because the dean is her uncle. And she has formed some relationships with Michael and Edwin, and she has sort of a budding friendship with Alora. And then we are following Ivy, who has a relationship with Michael, and she also has something budding with a guy named Tate. And Michael and her are very much, they remind me of like a Blair situation from Gossip Girl. Very much 2 like manipulative people who like hoard secrets and things like that. We haven't gotten too much about Michael, but that's the sort of relationship I get. I guess more apt would be like Chuck and Blair. Both very manipulative people, and they are kind of toxic with each other. And then Tate is this guy who is friends with her brother, who they've had a couple of run-ins together and they've had like a connection. Ivy is very much Blair. She is the, you know, pretty perfect girl who has the money and the parents and like the rich lifestyle, but underneath it's covering a lot of insecurities. And there has been some discussions about, you know, her basically putting on a front. And then we also have Alora, who is friends with Ivy, and they've been friends for a long time. And they have sort of a Blair and Zarina relationship where they are hoarding each other's secrets and waiting to backstab each other. They have kind of this catty friendship. And Alora has a relationship with Zane, who is Ivy's brother, but it hasn't been revealed. And in the beginning of the book, they end up separating because he wants something more from her. And there's a lot of family secrets going on between his family and her family, and a lot of trust issues that she has from her parents' relationship and everything that goes on there. Her parents cheat on each other, her brother is her half-brother, and her half-brother is Zane's half-brother as well, but no one knows but her. She hired a private investigator, and so she is battling her feelings for him while also trying to deal with the trust issues that she has and her relationship with Ivy, forming this new relationship with Kaz. So in this 25% mark, it's kind of been set up. We definitely have gotten more from Kaz and Alora. Kaz has kind of a thing with this guy named Edwin, who is Ivy's brother as well. And when the book started, like chapter 1, there was the idea of the trials, and basically those are non-existent at this point. That was quickly thrown out the window, but it essentially was Ivy running off all of their old roommates and putting them through trials, so basically like hazing them until they left. And so she attempts to do that with Cass. It doesn't really work, and so that's dropped pretty quickly. I'm interested to see how it goes. I'm not by any means disliking it, and the fact that it is 500 plus pages is a little much for me, but I think because we are following 3 different points of view and ostensibly 3 different romances, I don't mind too much that it's 500 pages. So I will update you at the 50% mark and let you know how I'm feeling then. I'm 50% through, and I don't have anything revolutionary to say except this thing is angsty as fuck, and the guys in this are so cute except one. He knows what he did, and I'm loving it so far. If you love angsty, messy, Gossip Girl-esque, pick this up. It's very good, and my 2 favorite characters are Tate, and I'm debating between Alora and Zane. Like, their relationship, my favorite thing is when a couple is fighting or they've broken up and they say things like they're going on a date with someone else and they're like, give me a reason to break the date. Like, things like that, they just they hurt my heart, and I love their relationship so much. I can't reveal that because it's a spoiler, but there's another hero, I'm assuming he's a hero, who did something fucked up that I'm pissed off about because I really liked him. And Ivy and Tate are just, I need them to hook up. Like, I need it. He keeps like fingering her and kissing her, making out with her, and then not going anywhere with it, and I'm sick of it. 60% in, and the drama with one of the couples is going to be the stupid ass petty shit where they believe someone's bullshit, someone that they're not friends with, that they have no reason to believe. They believe their lies and blow up the relationship. I hate this conflict. I hate it. Are we about to have another couple have a conflict over miscommunication? So I have finished Ivy, and I ended up giving this 4 stars. So I enjoyed this. It was a good little like Gossip Girl-esque story. I liked the 3 POVs. Shocking to absolutely no one. My favorite character was definitely Ivy. My favorite relationship was definitely Ivy and Tate. But I did feel like the story was a little long. There was one too many conflicts with each couple. There was everything that you could possibly imagine, like every messy situation, other women, pregnant other women, family drama, sibling, like all kinds of ridiculousness that you could imagine, but it was fun. The reason I didn't get a 5-star was because it just dragged on too long. There was one too many conflicts and it was a little overwrought, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm very happy that it was my 200th book. The romances themselves were fantastic. Tate and Ivy were definitely my favorite. Ivy was very much a Blair character, and Tate just didn't take any of her shit. She would be a brat and he would just like shut her down immediately, and he's like, no, I know what you need, shut up, sit down, and this is how it's gonna go. And it was just delightful to see her like flounder and get all worked up over their relationship. And the other relationships I liked as well. Zane and Alora, I loved from the beginning. Their angsty relationship, their back and forth, Zane being 110% into their relationship, but Alora being the one that has the trust issues, was just so good to read about. Not good because it was angsty, but I enjoyed reading about it. And then Edwin and Cass's relationship was cute. They had some over-the-top drama, but I think it all worked out. And I love Tate and Ivy, okay? I can't help it. They're my favorite. They're so cute. And I just happen to love like Blair characters, and their relationship dynamic is just my favorite. So that is it for this vlog. Let me know down below if you would be interested to see a vlog of the other 1 chapters that I read. If you don't have anything to say, leave a school emoji down in the comments. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in my next one.